Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024. Hope you were all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of SEC Unfiltered Live. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We got a couple of you guys coming in the chat. I see Bruin Nation, Ethan K, Travi. Appreciate you guys being here. Also, those watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Twitch, and now on Instagram, now that I've finally figured out how to get Instagram up and running. Hope you guys had a fantastic long weekend. Appreciate you all being here. We have got a ton to discuss and a ton to get into here on this Tuesday. In just a few minutes, our good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company, he's going to kick off the show, guys. There's a lot to discuss with Jake. We have obviously not talked to him since the DeBoer's stuff went down late last week. Also, his staff is starting to take shape. We got staff movement in the SEC. We've still got transfer portal madness, of course, happening, guys. Going to get his take on all that, much more. Also, guys, today, we are 1 month away, 31 days exactly until first pitch, 31 days until opening day. We're going to talk some college baseball. I'm going to lock in also my projected Omaha 8. Is it difficult to do? Is it nearly impossible to make these predictions in baseball? Yes, it is. We do not care. 1 month before first pitch, I'm going to lock in my projected Omaha 8, who I think is going to be playing in Omaha this summer. Also, guys, on a lighter note, we're talking SEC basketball. Yes, we're going to kick it off. Auburn fans got ticked off at me, and at SEC Unfiltered specifically yesterday. Going to talk about that. Also, look ahead to a packed slate of games tonight. Some really, really good games. There's some good value on the gambling lines in those games as well. Guys, we're going to break down all that. Of course, end of show, the daily mailbag segment, taking your questions, your comments, and yes, your calls as well, live here on the airwaves, 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. I want to hear from each and every single one of you. Also, guys, I'll be talking about DeBoer's staff as it comes together. Is this the next great staff in the SEC? Thoughts on who he's adding? Of course, the defensive coordinator position taken care of late last night going into today. We all know Ryan Grubb is going to be the OC. Also, strength coach, director of medicine, if you will, or nutrition, I should probably say. So, a lot of dominoes are falling right now. We're going to discuss all that in a second, guys. Be sure, if you're on YouTube, you do hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live, when we drop new video content, which is daily, by the way. Also, subscribe to the podcast, rate and subscribe. iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, guys. Again, daily pods there as well. And, of course, all across social media. You can find us at SEC Unfiltered. And you can find me at CPhilly19. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you being here. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and kick off this show in style. Our good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company. And, Jake, glad to see you're doing well, my friend. You survived the great snowstorm of 2024 in Nashville, my man. What's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm just waiting to see like Al Gore or Jake Gyllenhaal walk across my front lawn. I mean, the snow is still crazy here up in Nashville. Really didn't stop yesterday, and it's not warm enough for the snow to melt. So we're having to do the show remote the past couple of days, and I don't know how I'm going to get to work tomorrow. And then it's supposed to snow again Thursday. Look, I'm not a climate change person or anything like that, but I lived in Montana for a year and a half. I thought I got away from this. I'm not a fan of the snow. It's fun for about 5 minutes. It's fun for about 5 minutes, and then it's just a problem. The only good part about growing up in the South, when it did get super cold, is that if you drop a couple ice cubes on the road, I didn't have to go to school. But this is nuts, man. We had one of my French bulldogs like disappear in the snow last night. It's like an Oregon Trail situation.
So you are a warm weather guy, I take it. Did you ever have to coach you coached in a snow game because you were in Montana, right?
Yeah, I coached in it felt like 3 feet of snow. And the all-state safety I brought up from Florida as a freshman, literally came up to me before the game, was like, "Coach, I can't feel my feet." And I was like, "Bro, we're from the same place. I can't feel my feet either. I don't know what to do." It's the great equalizer, the absolute great equalizer. But yeah, I'm definitely a warm weather person. If you're not a warm weather person, part of me feels like you should be federally investigated, but that's a story for another day.
So, Jake, funny side note, my girlfriend's brother lives in Montana, right? She's got family from Montana. He lives out in Montana. And they came to visit, and he's back out there now. But he said that it was negative 30 degrees right now
No,
in Montana.
like
Negative
Chris,
30.
I try and explain it to people, and you can't explain it. And I got up there in June, right? I got up there in June. It's beautiful. It's like a Disney movie, man. It's like I thought like an animated bird was gonna come land on my shoulder. I'm just gonna break out into some song. And I'll never forget our wide receiver coach. I looked at him, I was like, man, this is amazing. Like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He was like, yeah, he's like, wait till September. Wait till September and then come holler at me. Bro, by the time we got to September, then after that, I mean, it was, I don't know, it's like living right next to the Grinch. It's just insane. I hate it.
Living in a snow globe. Well, glad to see you're still working, Jake. I'm glad to see that you got good enough Wi-Fi. You're rocking the show, and I noticed that this morning. I was like, they're not in studio, so
no. And you can see I got my wife for my birthday did up my studio and man cave, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell. She put a bar back there. Got a TV I'm gonna put up. It's I think maybe this is her way of getting rid of me for most of the day instead of me having to watch everything downstairs on multi-view. But no, dude. I mean, we got all type of stuff in here. So yeah, she did it big. Shout out Reed.
Well, speaking of your man cave, my friend, and this is kind of off the record, not off the record, but this is sort of meant to contact you about this off air, but we're not quite there yet. But March, SEC basketball tournament, Bridgestone Arena, Nashville. We might need to get up in the man cave, get in the studio,
dude. Get all up in here.
Do a little in-person show. Why not?
Dude, come on. We'll do it. We'll have a couple cold beverages. Yeah.
Ty won't have us.
Dude, we're actually, Chris, we were talking about this on Crain Company. We're thinking about live streaming the first day of the NCAA tournament. Get a lot of money out there. A lot of money out there.
A lot of money to be made indeed.
Sporting event. So
yeah. Best 2 days in sports and that first 2 days of March Madness. Yeah. Jake, let's get into the Alabama stuff, though. That's the big talking point. Who knew that when you and I spoke, and of course we were discussing what was going on with the national title game and I guess in the SEC, but the madness that took place, I believe, starting on Wednesday. Let's first start there because there's a lot to unpack here. Your immediate reaction to Nick Saban retiring. I mean, I think we knew we were getting closer to this day, obviously, when you look at, he's 72 years old. But I thought he was going to be back in 2024. With Jalen Milroe coming back, the team he had, you get eliminated the way you did. But we knew it was going to be a shocker, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, where did you fall? Did it shock you? Did you see it coming? Were there things that took place during the season that you felt like, okay, this makes sense? Or the overall reaction to the GOAT hanging it up?
Well, I'm not shocked, but I was a little surprised because of the way that Alabama ended their season. In my opinion, I was almost to the point where, hey, let them win it, so this man will retire. And a lot of it is timing, right? It was kind of abrupt. They were supposed to have a team meeting about the first day back, right? And then that got canceled, and then he announces it. So, and I don't buy into conspiracy theories. I've heard things from people I trust about reasons that this took place that I'm not going to unveil here. You've probably heard the rumors about it, but we'll see. The timing of it was very interesting with a guy that is all about timing and structure, right? But I will say, I don't think Nick Saban wanted to do a farewell tour. Like they do with Lee Corso every year. They're like, all right, Lee, this is the last one. Everybody cries, and Kirk's crying, and it's all emotional. Like, thanks for the memories. And then he's back the next year. Or like we see it in Major League Baseball all the time. Like you go to the away games. Oh, man, it's his last time playing, and then he retires. I don't think Nick Saban wanted to do that, regardless of if there was an abrupt reason why he got done. So not shocked, surprised, but it's a changing of an era, Chris. And look, football's always been cyclical, right? It'll always be cyclical. Teams will come, teams will go. The biggest question is, and I think this is the one that we're going to get into, is the expectation for Alabama fans, and will there be any semblance of patience the first time that it doesn't go perfect or according to plan? Because with Nick Saban, if it didn't go perfect.
And we lost Jake. I guess the great snowstorm just knocked him out. We'll see if we can get Jake Crain back on here. Here he goes. Okay.
There we go. And B, where did it kick me?
I was just going to say that I think the Sasquatch and the great snowstorm just knocked out Jake Crain there.
Yeah, probably.
When it doesn't go perfect for Alabama, they could always count on. I'm assuming you're going to say Nick Saban getting it back on track.
Nick Saban could fix it. Yeah, he could fix it. And then B, look what he's done in the past. So, and there were even some Alabama fans that, earlier in the year were like, hey, he just needs to be done. I'm sick of this, sick of that. So what happens when Kalen DeBoer, who I think is a damn good football coach, goes up to Wisconsin and maybe they lose, in Luke Fickell's second year? What happens if they lose to Georgia at home against Kirby Smart? How much is that Alabama fan base? Because look, fan short for fanatic. Everybody freaks out about certain things, but will there be any sort of leash given to Kalen DeBoer, or is it just going to be misery street that drives this man insane every time every time it doesn't go just perfect and swimmingly for Alabama? That they will go as far as the patience of that fan base the first couple times it doesn't go good. That to me is going to write the story, because he's a damn good football coach. He's won everywhere he's been. He's bringing a really good staff together. Alabama's a monster. We know that. But I want to tell Alabama fans, listen, like, you haven't won a natty in the last 3 years, right? So it's not like you're leaving winning 3 in a row. Nick Saban was the greatest college football coach of all time. Expecting Kalen DeBoer to recreate that in the environment of college football now with NIL and the transfer portal and all this shifting landscape is an impossible task. Not Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, where somehow the mission is always possible. Like, is this guy ever going to mess up one of the missions that are impossible? This is truly impossible to replicate.
Jake, switching gears just a little bit on this. You've got a great feel on the pulse of Auburn fans and that entire fan base. Mm-hmm. What was the reaction from folks on the plains? And I asked that and also mentioned they rolled tumors when he announced he was retiring. So, I think to say that Auburn fans they weren't sad about the news, right? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Excitement, jubilation. I mean, Auburn actually kind of fared somewhat decently against Nick Saban, which, I mean, the record wasn't crazy, but in comparison, I think Auburn gave Nick Saban as much fits practically as anybody. But the reaction of the Auburn fan base to this news, especially when you've got Hugh Freeze leading the charge, and again, they rolled tumors. The excitement level pretty high. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, look, it's a rival fan base. Everybody outside of Alabama fans was happy, but now it's kind of got that Luke Skywalker when he landed to the rebellion, the Death Star blew up feeling. Like, oh my God, like it's over. Like it's over. And the first thing you think of is, Nick Saban at Alabama, they're not going to be this big 800-pound gorilla anymore. But then you think, man, we're not going to know about Kalen DeBoer and his ability to have success until we see it. Like I said, not that he's going to replicate what Nick Saban did. I think that was the first kind of breath of, kind of letting it out a little bit. You don't have to worry about, Palpatine anymore up there shooting lightning from his fingertips. Now, what happens when he becomes the czar of college football or something and he can control it even more? We'll see. But yeah, I think you'd be crazy as a rival fan base or any other fan base that has to deal with Alabama, which is pretty much everybody, to not be excited. Now, rolling tumors corner, you could say it's a win for Auburn, like with Nick Saban getting out. I mean, I don't think that's a stretch, but rolling tumors, I don't know. I don't think that's a good look. I would save that for when Auburn actually wins games. I mean, you got a basketball team right now that looks like they could possibly be Final Four good. Hugh Freeze is making some changes with his staff. I just, I get it. I understand why people are excited, but rolling tumors corner, Auburn didn't beat Alabama at anything. Alabama just had their, the GOAT retire. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but I want to make sure, and regardless of who you're a fan of, and I opened a show with this on Crain Company, you got to recognize and respect greatness. I don't care if you're the biggest Auburn fan in the world or you hate Alabama more than anybody. I mean, Nick Saban was a master craftsman. How many times, I'm trying to think in my life, the amount of times I've seen a guy dominate the way Nick Saban dominated. I'm old enough to remember Phil Jackson, right, dominating the way he dominated. Watching Kirby kind of get it started a little bit, it's been unbelievably impressive. But I've never seen a guy dominate, especially a college sport, where I think it's harder because you have class and you have recruiting and you have all these other things. You got to recognize and respect greatness. So, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless if it helps your team or if it hurts your team, it's crazy to see the GOAT retire. We've seen college basketball, Roy Williams, right? Jim Boeheim, Coach K. There's a changing of the guard. The NFL, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, all this is it's a crazy time right now.
And I feel like, Jake, that's how you're getting older when you see some of those legends hang it up. And then even more so when you start seeing some guys that were some of your favorite players or the sons of your favorite players that are either becoming players themselves.
4-star recruits.
Favorite players are becoming coaches. And you're like, God, weren't we just watching this guy, right?
For sure.
So Kalen DeBoer building out this staff in Tuscaloosa. Jake, let's talk about it. I want to get your thoughts. I know you've got strong thought as well because the DC they just had, you're a big G5 guy. Put some respect on G5 football's name.
Sure.
Crain Womack, which, by the way, I saw on social media, it's Womack, not Womack. For all those out there, it's Womack. So Crain Womack, and I'm glad I saw that because I would have butchered it. Crain Womack, though, coming from South Alabama. You look at the entire staff. Ryan Grubb going to come over from Washington at the OC spot. They keep Robert Gillespie at running back. Scott Huff, the O-line coach, is coming from Washington. You got your tight ends coach, Nick Sheridan from Washington. Wide receivers coach, Jamarcus Shepard from Washington. Again, Womack, like I mentioned, at DC. Freddie Roach coming back at D-line coach. I know there's others as well, but, like, what are your early impressions on the staff he's put together? And I think what's so interesting, Jake, is, like, 10 years or so ago, the SEC, it felt like, kind of fell in this trap of, like, okay, you've worked for Nick Saban, hire you. You've worked for Nick Saban, hire you. It's why people like Will Muschamp and Jeremy Pruitt got head coaching jobs, and then they burned out. I feel like we're starting to see a little bit different where it's okay to go outside of the SEC and get some different flavor. And do you buy into that, or do you worry about this staff with, so much different flavor? They're going to have trouble recruiting the SEC territory. Like, your thoughts on this staff as a whole, and because as well as I do, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, well, first off, if you think somebody has to be from somewhere to be able to win there, you've lost your mind. I think that's an awful way to look at it. If that's the case, you may be a great car salesman in Michigan, but you can't sell cars in Alabama. That's not true. If you can sell cars, you can sell cars. The first thing I'll do is I'm going to trust Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to trust the guy that's built a staff everywhere he's went. He's kept some continuity, and he's won everywhere he's went. I'm a firm believer, and if somebody shows you who they are, you need to believe them. Now, the thing I'll tell Alabama fans who are pissed off about not getting T-Rob is you need to start getting used to you're not going to get everything you wanted like you used to. All right? Maybe the economy's bad and you're not going to get as many Christmas presents on Christmas morning. You're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it, right? And welcome to the real world. That's one of the offshoot effects, I think, of Nick Saban not being the head coach there anymore. Not that he's not around the program, but if Nick Saban wanted, you look at T-Rob, right? If Nick Saban wanted T-Rob to stay, and he was the head coach, T-Rob would have stayed. He would not have gone back to Georgia. He would have gone to Alabama. That's not how it is anymore. You're going to have to fight it out like everybody else, and that's good for college football. But as far as offensively, let's start there. Ryan Grubb and him have an unbelievable relationship. I mean, going all the way back to Sioux Falls, this is a best-case scenario. And what's going to make or break, in my opinion, how it goes early, especially at the quarterback position, because I don't know what the hell Will Rogers is going to do, right? I know Jalen Milroe is there, and there's been some quarterback run game with Washington. If you really dive into it, you see power read, you see some Q counter, there's some elements of it, but they didn't want to run Penix a lot because we know Penix's injury history, and that just kind of wasn't the way their offense was flowing. How malleable will Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer be to adjust the offense to what Jalen Milroe does best? Kind of like Alabama did from the LSU game all the way into the first half, and it baffled me, against Michigan, that style of offense. Will they tailor it to their personnel as they get ready to bring other guys in there? I think they're smart enough to do that. I think they understand the importance of that. They understand on getting on the right foot. And I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have a Jalen Milroe at the highest efficiency level running it and throwing it than Will Rogers at the highest efficiency level just throwing it. Jalen Milroe can be an absolute problem. Now, when it comes to defense, the thing that hurts you the most about not getting T-Rob back is re-recruiting the players on that defense. Keeping Freddie Roach is huge in that aspect, but that only goes so far, and it really stays in the front seven. Where have we seen most of the Alabama portal guys come from? From the back end, right? What's the biggest question left out there right now? It's Caleb Downs. What is he going to do? Who I think is the best DB in the country. Right now, with the experience he has, safety, corner, nickel, slot corner, whatever you want to call it, I think Caleb Downs is the best DB in the country. And if he doesn't return to Alabama, where's he probably going, Chris? To Georgia. His ass ain't going to Utah. I can promise you that. He ain't going to Syracuse, even though Fran Brown's killing it up there right now. He is going to Georgia. And if that happens, you just added another weapon to the Mega Ranger. So the staff Kalen DeBoer is going to build around him. I'm going to trust him. We're not going to know until we know. Is Crain Womack the best recruiter in the world? No. Did he piss some people in Mobile off by the way he handled the staff a little bit, firing the 3 guys over text, allegedly? Yes, I know some guys are upset about that. But Alabama really recruits itself, and there's enough great recruiters to make up for Crain Womack not being the greatest salesman on earth. And it's Alabama. But I'll tell you this, the dude can coach ball. The dude's going to put the players in the best position to possibly win. He's unbelievable in the red zone, too. That's where I think you're going to get the most money out of Crain Womack. But as the most interesting part, Chris, of the Womack hires, this is now twice where a head coach of a group of 5 said, you know what? I'm going to go be a coordinator, not because I was fired, not because there was something off the field where we mutually resigned. I'm going to go be a coordinator at a big Power 5 school and see what happens. The last guy who did it was Sean Lewis at Kent State. A lot of people said, why? And his ass got demoted during the season and still got the San Diego State head coaching job. So right now it looks like there's kind of a different path being formed, because I don't know about you. I cannot remember in college football a time where a group of 5 head coach left to go be a coordinator, not FCS, not D1 AA, not NAIA, a Division I group of 5 FBS coach leaving his post to go be a coordinator at a Power 5 place because he wanted to. I do not, outside of Sean Lewis last year and then obviously Kane this year, I don't know. But I do know this: Kane is able, and if they give him a chance, he's going to ball.
And now, Jake, speaking of staff changes or shakeups or just news regarding coaching staffs, let's go to the Plains and Auburn. There's been a lot of shakeup, right? I think you and I would both agree. We talked about this last week. Hugh Freeze taking over play calling. That's a huge win. But we've been seeing news, right? It's one guy after another, and maybe there's some worry starting to set in. What do you make of it? I mean, it's a lot for Hugh Freeze to have to replace. Do you think it's more so trimming the fat? Are these necessary changes? Is there something else going on? Like, what do you make of just such massive staff overhaul after his first year?
Well, look, I think every job is circumstantial. I think we have a bad habit in sports media and the media in general, and just grouping everything together for one reason why something happened. It's all circumstantial, right? The same reason why some guys, wanted to take the Alabama job and some guys decided to stay where they were at. It's all circumstantial. You can't just make decisions based on pure emotion. That is no leader that is worth his salt makes decisions based on pure emotion. You take all the variables, you do the calculating, and then you make an educated decision that you trust. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. The thing that I look at with Hugh Freeze, and it's funny because you look at SEC fan bases, and this will hit home for you. South Carolina doesn't fire anybody after a down year. Oh, this must be acceptable. This is the standard, I guess. I guess it's okay. Nobody can get fired. I'm not okay. You're not okay, but that's okay. But then all of a sudden you look at Auburn and they fire, 3 or 4 guys, and all of a sudden it's, oh my God, it's that the house is caving in. Like, which one do you want, man? Like at what point do you just have to trust the guy that's there? And when I look at Hugh Freeze, and listen, Cadillac Williams, incredible player for Auburn. What Carnell Williams has done for Auburn, you can't really quantify it, right? He was that big of a deal. Zach Etheridge, hell of a player, really good coach, right? But let's be honest, man. What has Auburn won with those 2 guys coaching on the staff? And I'm not saying it's their fault specifically, and it hurts Auburn worse in recruiting for Zach Etheridge to go to Houston. Like that, to be honest with you, if we're going to call a spade a spade. So at some point, and I think it was good that Carnell and Zach were there, because Hugh Freeze needed a guy early that could explain Auburn to him, that could say, Coach, this is not a good idea at Auburn. Or, hey, this is a great idea at Auburn. Or, hey, we have to re-recruit our whole damn team like Alabama's having to do right.
For some reason, we lost Jake yet again. Let's see if we can get him back. That might be a me issue. I don't know. Here we go. Okay.
There we go. And it's just like Hugh Freeze deciding to call the plays. At some point, you've got to surround yourself and you've got to lean on yourself to be able to get it done. You have to bring in guys that you feel like will not holdovers, because you're trying to keep other guys that you really trust to be able to put out the best product as possible, just like calling plays. I'll never understand how somebody can build up a portfolio and a resume calling offensive plays, then finally get to the top, to the precipice, and say, you know what? I'm going to start dribbling with my left hand. Somebody else come in here and call the plays. That makes no sense at all. That's why Sarkisian's like, no, I'm going to call it. Like, I'm going to call the plays. Because at the end of the day, if I get fired, I'm getting fired with my guys. If I get fired, I'm getting fired with my play calls. Because I cannot put my head down on the pillow at night and look in the mirror and say, man, what if? What if I would have called the plays? Hell, I'm one of the best in the world at it. It's how I got my job. Bobby Flay ain't going to stop cooking fried chicken if fried chicken's making him the most money, man. That's just how it is.
Jake,
so I'm not panicking. Nobody's panicking. Here's what you know why I'm panicking, Skywalker. Honestly, it's because of Peyton Thorne's still there. That's the reason I'm panicking. If there's a reason to be worried or a reason to be nervous, Not that he can't, that it's impossible, but man, God, I feel like the odds are stacked against him. I don't trust that cat. I can see it in his eyes, man. Horrified. The man is horrified. And you know what? Part of me doesn't blame him. Have you seen what's putting their hand in the ground coming after you? But dude, we got to get somebody here who can witch it up.
Speaking of, Jake, Auburn quarterbacks, this dropping just before we went live on air. This comes from Mike Gittins. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he covers Auburn
Mikey
football.
G. I like Mike.
So he posted this on X. Again, this is 11:42 this morning. He says, sources tell me that Robbie Ashford will stay in the SEC and sign with South Carolina. All eligibility issues have been cleared. He will be immediately eligible to play for Shane Beamer's squad. He has 2 years of eligibility left. Now, I want to get your thoughts on that because Lenoris Sellers looks to be the guy coming in. Here's what's funny, though, Jake. South Carolina fans are convinced Lenoris Sellers is like the next Heisman winner, right? He's the young, flashy
Spencer Rattler, get out of here.
Right. Had the highlights against Furman, had the highlights against Vandy, what have you. He is expected, though, to be the starter. Robbie Ashford comes in with experience, had some highlights of his own at Auburn. What is South Carolina getting in this kid? And realistically, do you think he can push for the starting quarterback job or at least push to make an impact at that position for Shane Beamer in 2024 and maybe beyond?
I think he's a solid backup. I think he's a solid guy you can have packages with, right? When you get into the red zone, he brings a true run element. I mean, Robbie can really run, and I hope it works out for him. I just don't think he's developed enough as a passer to really, truly be effective. Not saying you have to come out there and be Drew Brees or Dan Marino, and there's been flashes where he's shown the ability. I mean, against Alabama 2 years ago, I thought he threw the ball as well as he ever has in a crazy environment. But overall, he struggles to be a consistent thrower. That's in the intermediate, that's in the short, that's in the deep. Great athlete. I'm assuming because I know he wants to play quarterback. At South Carolina, you're going to be asking yourself the same questions that Auburn fans were asking. Like, you see the running element of Robbie Ashford, you see his athleticism, and you say, wow, man, this guy can really do some things. I think it needs to be Lenoris' show, though. This guy does have incredible talent. Like, I really believe he has, and he has that kind of feel to when you watch him play. It looks like things aren't going too fast for him. Not that they're not going fast, but it's not so sped up that he can't operate. But if he were to get hurt, if something were to happen, Robbie Ashford's a guy that can go in there and he can plug the hole in the ship. You don't want to build the whole Titanic out of Robbie Ashford, but he can plug a couple holes on the ship. So it's a nice pickup. I hope for Robbie's sake that it works out, and I'm rooting for him.
Now, Jake, moving off of that, transfer portal obviously is the big talk right now. 30 days is what coaches and folks in college football have to really just go after the Alabama roster. Has there been any surprising movement for you? I think the big one's Caleb Downs, obviously, that we're all waiting for. Yeah. He hasn't made a decision, but I tell you, Jake, it's just like every single day, man, you're seeing another player hit the portal, a decommitment, what have you. And you made a good point earlier. Alabama fans are just going through what basically every other school has been going through already. Like, it's just like, welcome to the show, folks.
Yeah, the armor is fully off right now. And if there's ever a time to try and strike Alabama, the underbelly is showing. And look, I mean, nowadays, especially when you have the greatest, those players went to play for Nick Saban. Okay, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Those players didn't go there because the restaurants in Tuscaloosa are great, right? You didn't set out-of-state tuition. Kids weren't coming from New Jersey. Not even talking about football players. They weren't coming from New Jersey to T-Town, right, because of the family environment, okay, or the party scene. No, they were going there because Nick Saban and football. That's what made the party scene, right? So now Nick Saban isn't there. You don't have that golden goose on the hill. It is less attractive. Not saying it's not attractive, but it's a lot less attractive, right? If Gal Gadot's signing autographs down the street, a whole hell of a lot more dudes are going to show up than if, the guy who played Ralph on the Christmas Story is doing it. That's just part of it. That's the way the world works. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to have the transfer portal. That's one thing. You're going to have guys leave. And a lot of them, like I said, are in the back end. You can connect the dots on why. But a lot of it is the high school kids, too. You've seen offensive linemen decommit, right? You've seen DBs decommit. You've seen a linebacker decommit. So it's, to me, a lot of it is about not just balancing the transfer portal, which you're going to lose guys anyways, regardless in today's era. And maybe it is trimming the fat a little bit. Some points it's not going to be. You look at Kite, you look at Amos and guys like that. And then Downs, you brought that up. Sean Murphy going to Florida State's a big one. But when you look at the high school part of it, getting these relationships cemented, right? Because Nick Saban was obsessed with recruiting. And it's not just this upcoming class. It's 2 classes down the road. And I'll tell you this, Chris, Auburn already went into Foley.
I don't know if it's me or Jake, but we keep losing. He keeps cutting out. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Let's see. Hopefully this is the last time. Here we go.
Hey, there we go. I don't know what's going on.
The hackers are getting after you today for some reason.
But no, man.
What's going on.
Look, at the end of the day, Bama is a little more mortal right now, but you shouldn't panic.
Jake, who benefits most from this? Is it just simply Georgia? Are they primed now, do you think, to just take over the league and kind of run away with it? I mean, it felt like that was really the last hurdle for Kirby and company. I mean,
I think everybody does. Like, if we're going to rank who benefits the most, I mean, yes, right? You took out, the emperor, and here comes Darth Vader. Like, you would think that would be the natural transition. But you look at Texas coming in with what they return, in the league. You look at, and you got to think Georgia's going on the road to Alabama. This is a great time to go on the road to Alabama if you're Georgia, returning your quarterback, right, with a new coach over there and somewhat of a new system. So, yes, Kirby is the default biggest winner. But make no mistake, from Georgia down to Tennessee Tech, everybody wins when the Dark Emperor is no longer the overlord of college football. Not that he won't be making moves, pulling the puppet strings. Bama will always get in. Watch. They'll always get in, just like this past year.
Way too early looking ahead, Jake. Is that week? I think it's week 3. Is that week 3 game in Madison against Wisconsin all of a sudden kind of interesting for Alabama?
Yeah, I think it was going to be interesting regardless. I mean, Luke Fickell can coach some football too. Like this isn't some half twit that's out there trying to figure it out. And look, I was shocked that Wisconsin wasn't better last year. I thought they were going to win the Big Ten West, honestly, with Tanner Mordecai coming over from SMU. But you got Tyler Van Dyke. I wonder if Wisconsin's athletic enough to stop what I think Ryan Grubb and them are going to do with Jalen Milroe. That's what it's going to come down to. You got the big bullheaded Big Ten team, right, that may not have the overall team speed. And we saw it against LSU's defense. That's not a fair way to look at it after what happened last year. Against Alabama, that's still going to be a race car, but you're going there. It'd be an incredible win for Luke Fickell and them early in year 2. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be jumping around. Best believe that.
Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Jake, by the way, I felt like you yesterday because I felt like I had half of Auburn fans that loved me. I had half that hated me because
that's perfect.
Yesterday morning, I learned a lesson yesterday. I need to specify as we grow and scale what is what, because I dropped my personal power rankings, had Auburn number 1 for SEC basketball, had the Auburn Tigers. You know what? I'm like 9 straight wins of double digits. Number 1, they deserve it. One of our staff writers goes out there, maybe Auburn's not all that great. And to see like the divide and see both of those posts doing numbers, and it's like half are like, yeah, and then half's like, boo.
You hit it. The Goldilocks port. This one's too hot. This one's too cold. Oh, this one's just right. Here's what I'll say. First off, from an Auburn perspective, we're all fans of somebody. Nobody's harder on Auburn than I am when it needs to be. They haven't sent me a check yet. But with the way football is going right now, you got to kind of watch your mouth when you're talking about what Bruce Pearl and baseball and them. Not that, oh boy, Briggs didn't believe that Auburn was the best team in the SEC. Okay, dude, we're like 3 games in. It's basketball. Holler at me in like a month. Then we'll know. But the reasoning for that, and this year you would be right. Auburn's offense would be out of control. We do the goofiest things possible. Turnovers. Looks like we're not running offense. It's Wendell Green Jr. dribbling the ball down and shooting it, right? But this team is like top 5 in turnover to assist ratio. The thing that makes this Auburn basketball team dangerous is they're actually running offense most of the time, right? You're 11 deep and you're not turning the ball over, right? There were a couple against LSU early, but Auburn is actually turning other teams over at an alarming rate. So not only did you go after the only thing that's doing well at Auburn, you went after it for a reason that is actually the opposite of the reason we're having success right now. Is that we're not turning the ball over. KD Johnson is stopping and bringing the ball back out. I saw that the other day and held up my dog like Simba from the Lion King, like outside before it got cold. I was so excited. So I think the reason they're having success is the opposite of that. But listen, 2 weeks from now, oh boy, could look like a genius because it is basketball and people will Drew Barrymore forget very quickly.
Indeed. We need to get Briggs on here to defend this take. I don't know. Jake Crain at Crain & Company. Jake, it's always an electric conversation. Congrats to you guys on your continued success, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Hey, you too, Chris, man. Loving what you guys are putting out. It's generating interest, and you guys do a really good job, and I know you're only going to keep growing. So love coming on and chopping it up with you, man. I'm going to put on my snowshoes and go try and find Jake Gyllenhaal.
I love it. Have fun, Jake. I appreciate
buddy.
you. See you. Great stuff, guys. With our good friend Jake Crain. He joins us every single week, by the way. Always an electric conversation. Really appreciate Jake taking the time. Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break on the side. Kalen DeBoer's first staff in Tuscaloosa is coming together. I'll give my full thoughts on the Ryan Grubb hiring at OC, the Kane Womack hiring at DC. Is this the staff to get things off and running in Tuscaloosa from the jump in year one of the Kalen DeBoer era? All that and more, guys, on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to SEC Unfiltered Live.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Why you tripping?
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.
SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is the simplest fantasy game on the market, focused around prop total entries. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. Prize Picks has no sharks, optimizers, or mass multi-entry. It's literally just you against the projection. They also allow mixed sport entries. So, for example, you can take the over on LeBron, parlay with the under on Mahomes. They've got college sports, pro sports, literally anything and everything you can think of. They have got it over at Prize Picks. They also have a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both in the App Store and Google Play, and they're rated 4.8 stars in the App Store with rave reviews. So many fans and listeners of SEC Unfiltered have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go download the Prize Picks app or head over to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use that promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same-game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SECU to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag as well to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Finally, SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Roback. Guys, if you haven't heard of Roback before, it's time to check them out. It's safe to say I'd bet on these guys any day of the week because I absolutely love their gear. I couldn't be more pumped to work with Roback. It's simply some of the most comfortable gear that I own. From the performance polos to the hoodies and the joggers, it's some of the best fit and best feel around. Roback's performance hoodies are some of the best pieces of clothing I've ever worn. I can't emphasize how soft these things are with great stretch and breathability. They're simply some of the best hoodies out there. Odds are, guys, if you see me during football season, baseball season, basketball season, or just here on SEC Unfiltered Live, you'll more than likely see me in a Roback hoodie. Secondly, guys, Roback's performance polos, they're some of the most comfortable polos out there. They're moisture wicking with 4-way stretch, making them perfect for a game day, and they have the perfect fit. With crisp collars that don't lose their shape, I could not recommend these polos more. In all honesty, guys, Roback's been gaining traction big time. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been working with some of college football's biggest stars, such as Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe and former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. So go check them out now and use the promo code SECU on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all bottoms, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with the promo code SECU. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are back here on this Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024. I want to say thank you yet again to our good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company for taking the time. Always a pleasure. We have him on every single week, and it's always good stuff, man. And hopefully, Jake and all those, again, you guys are snowed in, whatever it might be. It seems like everywhere got snow in the Southeast except where I am. So, which is unfortunate because it's just cold here. And this morning it's cold and rainy. Like there's nothing worse than when it's cold. It's 40 degrees though, right? It's raining. It could be snowing. And you're like, what's the point? That's where we are right now. So if you're enjoying the snow, enjoy it. Make sure you stay safe, stay warm, what have you. And come hang out with us. Why not? We'll have a good time. Guys, again, appreciate you all tuning in. We got a lot to get into. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll. Kalen DeBoer, his staff in Tuscaloosa, his first staff, taking shape at Alabama, guys. As we go through this list on the offensive coordinator side of things, we now know Ryan Grubb, who was his OC at Washington, following him along to Alabama. At running backs coach, Robert Gillespie is hanging around Tuscaloosa. Offensive line coach, you've got Scott Huff, who's coming over from Washington. Tight ends coach, Nick Sheridan from Washington. Wide receivers coach, Jamarcus Shepard from Washington. On the defensive side, the defensive coordinator hire, which took place over the last 24 hours or so, Kane Womack coming over from South Alabama. And at D-line coach, Freddie Roach is remaining and is retained, going to be sticking around Tuscaloosa at the defensive line coach position. Now, when you look at this coaching staff, guys, you know, I fell into a bit of a trap last week where I said the term home run hire, grand slam hire. And I really do believe the hiring of Kalen DeBoer, I think it's a really good hiring, right? I really do. Going back to it, when you look at his resume, the fact he's won everywhere, I can really, really respect and resonate with. This is a guy who started from the bottom. He sort of created himself into what he is now, created his own personal brand, his brand as a coach, what have you. Earned everything he's gotten along the way, right? And simply put, just stack the building blocks on top of each other to get to this point now. But with that being said, right, outside of maybe a couple names or outside of a couple things, is there really any hire that's truly a slam dunk or a home run or a guarantee? There's no such thing, right? There's no such thing as a guarantee, especially when we are talking about the expectations in Tuscaloosa and the level that those folks expect to win at. So when you look at Kalen DeBoer's staff, and you're only as good as the folks you surround yourself with, right? That's a fact. I think that you can look at the resumes of a lot of these guys, and there's a lot of reason to be excited. There's a lot of dudes that bring great track records with them. But if you want to talk about things about, okay, well, what's recruiting going to look like? What's the roster retention currently going to look like? What's going into the portal going to look like? Guys, I don't know. I don't think anybody has a for sure answer when it comes to that. Now, Nick Saban had a lot of say in getting Kalen DeBoer to Tuscaloosa, right? Nick Saban signed off on it. Otherwise, Kalen DeBoer is not at Alabama. But I'm assuming they're allowing DeBoer to build out his coaching staff the way that he sees fit. I think what's most fascinating about this, guys, is, the staff is not totally complete, but the names I mentioned earlier, that is what we know right now is in place. I think what's so fascinating is this. For a while, the SEC fell into this rut, and I think one of the reasons the SEC sort of struggled, or some schools struggled, the SEC fell into this rut of hiring Nick Saban disciples. Now, has it worked before? Absolutely. Look at Kirby Smart, right? I'm not saying it never works, but look at Billy Napier in Gainesville right now. Look what happened to Will Muschamp at both Florida and South Carolina. Look at what happened to Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. So the SEC fell in this rut of the good old boy system, right? Recycling coaches, right? We're going to keep things in-house and hire good old boys across the league, whatever. Seeing an quote-unquote outsider in Kalen DeBoer come in, Washington guy, West Coast guy, no SEC ties whatsoever. The closest he got to the SEC was Indiana, which might as well be a whole continent away, right? So this quote-unquote outsider comes in. Now you look at the staff, guys. There's some Alabama flavor there, right? Robert Gillespie's sticking around. Freddie Roach is sticking around. If it were up to Bama, Travaris Robinson would have been sticking around, but he's headed back to old Georgia, right? But you look now at the coordinators. Your OC, Ryan Grubb from Washington. Your DC, Kane Womack from South Alabama. Both guys have great resumes. We'll start with Ryan Grubb. I mean, Ryan Grubb is the reason, guys, practically why Kalen DeBoer took off the way he did at Washington. Like what he did with Michael Penix Jr. And we'll see. Some folks want to say, hey, Michael Penix Jr. is why Ryan Grubb or Kalen DeBoer, why they rose to the levels at which they did, why they had so much success. Well, great players certainly help, guys. I see that a lot, right? Like, oh, the only reason that he's good is because this player, that player. We could say that about a lot of coaches, guys. It's Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's. X's and O's are important, but it's about Jimmy's and Joe's. That's what Kalen DeBoer, on a side note, what Kalen DeBoer will be judged on at Bama, or, what will dictate his success more than anything, are they able to bring in top-notch talent like Nick Saban did? Or similar to what Nick Saban did? Are they able to bring in that top-notch talent? Are they able to go in the portal? Are they able to retain the talent on the roster? Right? That's what's going to determine success or failure. The coordinator hires, the position coaches certainly are only a piece of that. Now, I think Ryan Grubb is a great hire at OC. You have continuity. They've worked together for quite a while. I really do think this is a good hire. I think what Grubb is going to be able to do with Jalen Milroe, his athleticism, I think it's going to be a really exciting brand of offense in Tuscaloosa. I really do. I think there's a lot that points to this being a really good hire. Now, what does recruiting look like? What does the portal look like? That's TBD, guys. We don't know what that's going to look like in the Kalen DeBoer era. We don't know if Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb and Kane Womack and this staff are going to recruit at a top 2 level, a top 5 level, a top 10 level. We don't know that yet. But when it comes to coaching ball and Ryan Grubb's experience, you got to love, and what he just did at Washington, by the way, with Michael Penix Jr., he's probably going to have more talent. He's definitely, I should say, going to have more talent in Tuscaloosa on the offensive side to work with. He's going to have more weapons to play around with. I don't see any reason why Ryan Grubb should not have success. And I think for Jalen Milroe, you talk about catering an offense and catering a game plan to Jalen Milroe's skill set, I think Ryan Grubb 110% is going to do that. Now, over the last 24 hours, guys, the defensive coordinator hire was officially locked down in Kane Womack. What's fascinating about this, by the way, guys, just fascinating about this, this dude was the head coach at South Alabama. Left a head coaching job, was not fired, right? Was currently the head coach at South Alabama. Left a head coaching job to go be the defensive coordinator at Alabama. That says something about your school, right? It says something when you're able to lure a guy that's in a head coaching spot. I know it's G5, but still lure a guy away and make him your DC. Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack experienced together at Indiana. Womack coached linebackers at Indiana in 2018. He was also their D coordinator in 2019 and 2020. 20. So again, you talk about staff continuity. You talk about guys that have worked together and done big things together. This is another dynamic duo, right? You also look at Kane Womack, guys. He was at Ole Miss from 2012 to 2013 coaching safeties, so does have some SEC experience. Granted, he was a GA when that happened, so he wasn't the D coordinator, wasn't even necessarily the safeties coach, but he did help coach safeties. He's got experience at Eastern Illinois, Jacksonville State, UT Martin. So again, I think you look at the resume, guys. You look at folks, you talk to different folks, right, that are in the coaching industry. We just heard our good friend Jake Crain. A lot of folks are high on this. A lot of folks say, hey, Kane Womack knows ball, right? And Alabama's got enough high-level football players, especially defensively, to, hey, scheme. I mean, a lot of it's instinct, right? But, there's a lot of DCs. Let me just put it this way. A lot of DCs that could succeed in Tuscaloosa with the number of great football players they have on the defensive side of the football. That being said, though, what's the recruiting going to be like? What's portal going to be like, right? You like the scheme. I think he's a 4-2-5 guy. Maybe that convinces a Caleb Downs to stay, right? A lot of guys for Bama right now hitting the portal. I think Womack is, the thing again about this hire, it's just not that good old boy SEC hire. I think that's why there's a lot of hesitation with it. And it's just, it brings a level of unknown. It's like, well, we haven't seen that guy at a SEC stop do this, right? I think again, this conference for a long time fell in this trap of familiarity where folks were so scared by change to go get somebody who had not cut their teeth in the SEC and who hadn't worked for 3 or 4 different SEC schools previously. And Kane Womack certainly is not that. Ryan Grubb is not that. Heck, Kalen DeBoer is not that. But where there's change, there's opportunity. Again, I think it's big. You do keep some of the Bama guys around. Gillespie and Roach are the 2 big ones, right? Offensively, defensively. Those guys are going to help with recruiting. You would have liked to keep T-Rob, but again, guys, it's a new era of Bama football. You're not going to be able to keep everybody that you want to keep. So, Kalen DeBoer's first staff coming together. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this unfolds. Is this going to be? And you always learn a lot about these SEC coaches after their first round of staff changes, right? Because there's only optimism when guys are hired. There's only optimism, right? Obviously, when you hire a new OC, a new DC, they're the greatest thing, right? They're the greatest thing ever. Perception can change quickly, right? We see it all the time. OCs and DCs get let go. I mean, guys, all I heard on the offseason was how Dan Enos was going to revolutionize the Arkansas offense. He was this, that. Guys, he didn't even make it through the entire season. So, very, very interested to see how things play out in Tuscaloosa with this staff. I think there's a lot of upside with these guys, but I'm just curious, how does this outside flavor, how does it mesh with the returners? Also, by the way, I do want to mention, you keep your strength coach. I think that's huge. That's the guy that spends the most time with your football team, more than any coach out there. And you keep the director of nutrition. I may be getting that label wrong, but either way, was Nick Saban's right-hand man. Nick Saban credited for a lot of the success they had. You keep those two pieces. Don't sleep on those 2 pieces. Very, very big pieces to retain in Tuscaloosa. But again, fascinated to see how Kalen DeBoer's staff continues to take shape. And the big ones, your OC Ryan Grubb, DC Kane Womack, how do they fare in Tuscaloosa? Are they that championship-level staff Kalen DeBoer is searching for? Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break on the other side. Hey, exciting times. We are 1 month away from opening day. And boy, I'm fired up. I am fired up. We're going to talk some baseball. D1 Baseball's top 25 came out today. Going to talk things I'm most excited for in the baseball season. And I'm dropping my projected Omaha 8, my predictions for who will battle it out in the College World Series, guys. All that and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to SEC Unfiltered Live.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Boy, you tripping.
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.
SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is the simplest fantasy game on the market, focused around prop total entries. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. Prize Picks has no sharks, optimizers, or mass multi-entry. It's literally just you against the projection. They also allow mixed sport entry. So, for example, you can take the over on LeBron, parlay with the under on Mahomes. They've got college sports, pro sports, literally anything and everything you can think of. They have got it over at Prize Picks. They also have a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both in the App Store and Google Play, and they're rated 4.8 stars in the App Store with rave reviews. So many fans and listeners of SEC Unfiltered have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go download the Prize Picks app or head over to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use that promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same-game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SECU to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag as well to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Finally, SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Roback. Guys, if you haven't heard of Roback before, it's time to check them out. It's safe to say I'd bet on these guys any day of the week because I absolutely love their gear. I couldn't be more pumped to work with Roback. It's simply some of the most comfortable gear that I own. From the performance polos to the hoodies and the joggers, it's some of the best fit and best feel around. Roback's performance hoodies are some of the best pieces of clothing I've ever worn. I can't emphasize how soft these things are with great stretch and breathability. They're simply some of the best hoodies out there. Odds are, guys, if you see me during football season, baseball season, basketball season, or just here on SEC Unfiltered Live, you'll more than likely see me in a Roback hoodie. Secondly, guys, Roback's performance polos, they're some of the most comfortable polos out there. They're moisture wicking with four-way stretch, making them perfect for a game day, and they have the perfect fit. With crisp collars that don't lose their shape, I could not recommend these polos more. In all honesty, guys, Roback's been gaining traction big time. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been working with some of college football's biggest stars, such as Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe and former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. So go check them out now and use the promo code SECU on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all bottoms, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with the promo code SECU. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are back here on this Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024, as we kick off the second hour of our show. Do not forget, guys, our daily mailbag segment. We're taking your questions, your comments, and your calls at 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Final 30 minutes or so of the show. With that being said, guys, we are officially 1 month away from opening day. Just 31 days until first pitch. And if you do not know, I am a huge baseball guy. Love baseball. Played it in college myself. Small D2, not SEC or anything. But love the game of baseball. Baseball content going to be a huge part of SEC Unfiltered, along with basketball and, of course, football, which is king. We all know that. But huge baseball guy. So excited for first pitch. And it's crazy. It just sneaks up on you, right? You're doing football stuff. Basketball gets going. All of a sudden, boom. Opening day, just a month away. And on that note, guys, our friends over at D1Baseball.com, which again, guys, the baseball content will begin to increase. We'll have our friends Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers, some others from D1 on the show, Kyle Peterson, Mike Rooney as well. Also, guys, our friends at 11.7. We'll start talking college baseball with some SEC baseball insiders or SEC baseball folks, if you will. So really, really exciting times, really exciting stuff. And again, like I mentioned, D1Baseball.com dropping their preseason top 25. And you know what's so fun about these rankings? The beauty's in the banter, truly. But there's some people that get so worked up over these preseason top 25s or top 25 rankings in general. And it's like, guys, in football, it matters, right? Like where you're ranked matters. You know as well as I do, though. Like basketball rankings don't even mean a whole lot. Baseball rankings practically mean nothing. Really, truly, especially at this point in the year. But you know what? I love them because it gives us something to talk about. It gives us college baseball to talk about. So why freaking not? I love it. And again, the beauty is in the banter. Again, these are the D1 Baseball top 25 rankings. There are 8 SEC teams. 8 in the preseason top 25. And let's see, there's 3, 4, 5. There are 6 SEC teams in the top 10. The SEC runs college baseball, but this is what the top 25 looks like from D1Baseball.com. At number 1, Wake Forest. Number 2, Florida. Number 3, Arkansas. Number 4, LSU. Number 5, TCU. Number 6, Vanderbilt. Number 7, Oregon State. Number 8, Texas A&M. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 10, Clemson. Number 11, East Carolina. Number 12, Duke. Number 13, NC State. Number 14, Virginia. Number 15, North Carolina. Number 16, Texas. Number 17, UC Santa Barbara. Number 18, Coastal Carolina. Number 19, Alabama. Number 20, Iowa. Number 21, Texas Tech. Number 22, UCLA. Number 23, Northeastern. Number 24, Kansas State. And at number 25, South Carolina. Again, 8 SEC teams ranked in the preseason top 25. I was a little surprised. No Auburn. I think Auburn is a sneaky good team this year. But I mean, guys, you look at it, Florida 2, Arkansas 3, LSU 4. I mean, the SEC, you know, we talk about how good the SEC is in football, and it's certainly, I think it's the best. We talk about how far it has come in basketball, and it has come a long way. But what the SEC is in baseball, again, 8 teams ranked in the D1 Baseball preseason top 25. 6 of those teams are in the top 10. 6 of the top 10 coming from the Southeastern Conference. And then you talk about the depth of the league. Guys, there's not a bad team in the conference. Like, there's going to be a team that finishes at the bottom. Don't get me wrong. There's not a bad team in the league, right? Who is that top 25 missing? I think Auburn is a team that could be sneaky good this year. Do you notice there's no Mississippi schools? Ole Miss, Mississippi State, right? Which of those two is set for a big rebound, if not both? You know, Texas is going to be in the SEC next year. They're at 16. Oklahoma, I think, has got a chance to be good this year. They're going to be in the SEC next year. Who else? Who am I missing here? You know, Kentucky is a sneaky good team most of the time. Missouri is sneaky good, right? We saw them last year kick things off and really surprise people. I mean, There are no off weekends in this conference, the best conference by far in the SEC. So what that leads me into, guys, as we sit 1 month from opening day, we're going to do a lot of content, breaking stuff down, predicting the conference. I'm going to give my picks for the SEC. I've actually got my Omaha 8 for you guys today. But on a lighter note, things I'm most excited for, because this is my first SEC baseball season as SEC Unfiltered, covering the entire conference, taking in the entire conference, everything it has to offer. The things that I'm most looking forward to, and guys, when I tell you I'm looking forward to the baseball season, as SEC Unfiltered, I cannot freaking wait. Like, I really, truly, genuinely cannot wait, because there's a great series every weekend. There's a great midweek every week. Like, I am so pumped, so juiced, so jacked for this. What I'm most looking forward to, again, the most elite conference, guys, top to bottom. Great series every weekend. Great midweeks every single week. Cannot wait for it. Also, guys, I just mentioned electric midweeks. Electric factory midweeks. We got Georgia, Clemson. We got Florida and Miami. We got Florida State happening. So many great midweeks that happen across the conference. Cannot wait to take those in. Also, guys, and I'm starting to dive into some top storylines, which I'll touch on these more again as we get closer to first pitch. I'm curious to see, can LSU go back-to-back, right? We have not had a back-to-back College World Series champion, I want to say, since South Carolina did it back in 2010, 2011. It's been quite a while. Does LSU have the team? Can they replace Paul Skeens, right? We know the sticks are there. What does the pitching staff look like? Can they go back-to-back in first time it happened in over a decade? I mentioned this a little bit ago. Which of the Mississippi schools bounce back, right? You think about last year, guys, the SEC tournament. The two teams that missed the SEC tournament were the two previous national champions, right? Like, that right there alone goes to show how deep the conference is, that those two teams, and I'm not saying they were the same teams as the years prior, but like, these are national championship caliber programs that aren't even making, the conference tournament. Really goes to show you how deep the league is. Also down in Columbia, I think it's another critical year for Mark Kingston. Can South Carolina baseball build off what they did last year? Made a super regional appearance, right? The thing that program has lacked under Kingston, consistency. They've lacked any sort of consistency. And I think for what South Carolina fans want that program to be, what that program should be, by the way, South Carolina baseball should be one of the best programs in college baseball every single year. It should be a top 10 program. That's how fans view it. That's how I view it. That's what it should be. If South Carolina, for whatever reason, with the talent they have coming back, they've got some issues in the pitching staff or question marks in the pitching staff. If that team, for whatever reason, falls short of expectations, I think even if they have to go on the road for a regional, if that team's not hosting, if that team's not in a super, there's going to be questions about Mark Kingston's future in Columbia. Also, guys, I'm looking forward to, like, who's that sneaky surprise team? Things aren't going to go chalk, right? Who is it? Is it Auburn? Is it Kentucky? Is it Missouri? Is it South Carolina sitting at 25, right? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Mississippi State, right? Is it somebody else? Also, guys, what I'm most excited for on a personal level, I'm excited for the fans, man. I am excited, so pumped, and looking forward to getting to meet, to interact, to engage with fans of SEC baseball, folks that are just as passionate. They love it just as much. They're crazy about their teams. Like, I cannot wait because, SEC football fans, there's no more passionate, like, it's a relentless passion. The best fans in college football, right? SEC basketball fans, I think very underrated, love their basketball. SEC baseball fans. Here's the thing about baseball, guys. Baseball does not have as large an audience as football and basketball, right? I think that's fair to say. But if you love baseball, you don't just kind of like it. Like, you are a diehard of baseball. If you're watching every game, like, you're a super diehard. And I cannot wait. I'm sure I'm going to piss some of you off. I'm sure I'm going to get under some of your skin. But it's all love, beauty, and the banter. I cannot wait to interact with the great fans of the SEC baseball fans, unlike any other out there. And lastly, guys, what I'm excited for, maybe we got a surprise visit or two coming to some SEC venues. There's some SEC ballparks out there that I've wanted to visit for quite some time, and now we're at the point, hey, maybe we make a weekend road trip to the dude down at Duty Noble. Maybe we go down to the Grove or go down to Oxford, if you will. Maybe we go to Alex Box in Baton Rouge. Some road trips could be on the horizon. Maybe so. Where should we go? You guys tell me. There is so much I'm looking forward to in this season of the SEC, being SEC Unfiltered, covering SEC baseball. Guys, that being said, again, we sit 1 month from opening day. Why not my Omaha 8? The 8 teams that right now I'm picking, I'm predicting, I'm projecting to be in Omaha this summer, fighting it out for the College World Series, fighting it out for the national championship. And again, is this hard to predict? Absolutely. Is it nearly impossible? Yes, but you know what? I don't give a damn. We're going to do it anyways. My Omaha 8 looks like this. I've got 4 teams from the SEC. I think half of the field will be SEC teams. At this point, guys, you have to expect that. It's the best conference in college baseball. There's a lot of other great conferences, a lot of other great teams, but it is the best. My 8 that I've got, 4 from the SEC, my 4 SEC teams. I do think LSU will go back to Omaha, looking to make it back-to-back. I've got Tennessee. Guys, I mentioned this yesterday. It's a matter of when, not a matter of if Tony Vitello gets a ring in Knoxville. I've got the Arkansas Razorbacks. They may have the best pitching staff in the SEC. Finally, I've got Texas A&M. I believe in Jim Schlossnagle. Love his ball club, what he's got coming back. I think he'll guide Texas A&M back to Omaha. The other 4 teams I have, I do think Wake Forest, the preseason number 1 ranked team, I think they will get there. Pitching staff is loaded. Wake Forest will make an appearance. I like East Carolina, guys. And maybe this is one of those things. I'm going to keep picking ECU until they finally get there. I'm going to keep picking East Carolina. That's a great program. They've been knocking on the door forever. I think they finally break through and they make it to Omaha this year. Guys, I got Texas. Hook them. Hey, call it 5 SEC teams with Texas about to be part of the league. I think the Texas Longhorns, I think they will return to Omaha. And finally, I got Oregon State. I like Oregon State a lot. They're a preseason top 10 team. They got a hell of a team returning. I think they will also punch their ticket. They'll be in Omaha. So again, my projected Omaha 8 right now, I got Wake Forest, LSU, Tennessee, East Carolina, Texas, Oregon State, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. What are your projections for Omaha? How will your favorite team fare just 31 days till toe meets rubber and we begin to get our answers? Guys, let's jump into a quick break. On the other side, we're talking some SEC basketball, but we're also talking Auburn fans. Feeling a little conflicted right now, a little bit pissed at SEC Unfiltered. I'll talk about just why, the irony of it all. And again, we'll look at the Tuesday slate, guys. Some fantastic games on the docket, on the hardwood tonight in the SEC, guys. All that and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to SEC Unfiltered Live.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Boy, you tripping.
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.
SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is the simplest fantasy game on the market, focused around prop total entries. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. Prize Picks has no sharks, optimizers, or mass multi-entry. It's literally just you against the projection. They also allow mixed sport entries. So, for example, you can take the over on LeBron, parlay with the under on Mahomes. They've got college sports, pro sports, literally anything and everything you can think of. They have got it over at Prize Picks. They also have a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both in the App Store and Google Play, and they're rated 4.8 stars in the App Store with rave reviews. So many fans and listeners of SEC Unfiltered have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go download the Prize Picks app or head over to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use that promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same-game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SECU to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag as well to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Finally, SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Roback. Guys, if you haven't heard of Roback before, it's time to check them out. It's safe to say I'd bet on these guys any day of the week because I absolutely love their gear. I couldn't be more pumped to work with Roback. It's simply some of the most comfortable gear that I own. From the performance polos to the hoodies and the joggers, it's some of the best fit and best feel around. Roback's performance hoodies are some of the best pieces of clothing I've ever worn. I can't emphasize how soft these things are with great stretch and breathability. They're simply some of the best hoodies out there. Odds are, guys, if you see me during football season, baseball season, basketball season, or just here on SEC Unfiltered Live, you'll more than likely see me in a Roback hoodie. Secondly, guys, Roback's performance polos, they're some of the most comfortable polos out there. They're moisture wicking with 4-way stretch, making them perfect for a game day, and they have the perfect fit. With crisp collars that don't lose their shape, I could not recommend these polos more. In all honesty, guys, Roback's been gaining traction big time. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been working with some of college football's biggest stars, such as Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe and former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. So go check them out now and use the promo code SECU on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all bottoms, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with the promo code SECU. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are back here on this Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024. Thank you all so much again for your continued love and support, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, so you get notifications of when we go live, when we drop new video content as well. Means the world, guys. Again, thank you all. As we keep the conversation rolling, do not forget daily mailbag segment, upcoming final 30 minutes or so of this show. But in the meantime, guys, something really, really funny happened yesterday, and there's a lot of irony in it. So Auburn fans are pissed off. So what's funny, though, there's half of Auburn fans are upset with SEC Unfiltered. The other half love SEC Unfiltered. Here's the reason why. And I'm learning as I go, right? I'm an entrepreneur, right? You learn each and every single day. You evolve, you grow, what have you. I learned a valuable lesson yesterday, and I'm really glad this happened. So, back when I was a solopreneur, right, which was very recently, I would drop everything from our main account as like, this is the rankings for this. These are the predictions for that. Like, speaking for the entire account. As we grow, as we scale, right? Not all of our contributors are going to agree. Thankfully, it would be really boring if they did. So, I dropped my SEC power rankings, as we do each and every single week, right? Drop my power rankings for SEC basketball. And because Auburn's won 9 in a row, and because they've won 9 in a row by double digits specifically, I thought, you know what? Auburn has earned this bump up. They're the one team at the top of the SEC that's been unblemished, that, you know, has been performing. They've been performing at a level unlike anyone else. I thought, you know what? They deserve this bump this week. Auburn is playing like right now the best team in the SEC. So I put Auburn at number 1 in my SEC power rankings, right? Then our good friend, one of our contributors, Briggs Paris, which, by the way, his work, fantastic. Have loved his work thus far. This is a dude, Briggs has played college basketball, right? Knows the game in and out. He knows what he's talking about. So he writes an article that we post over at secunfiltered.com, which if you have not checked it out, I highly encourage you to do so. We publish an article at secunfiltered.com, and his take on the SEC, on the hardwood, and specifically Auburn, is that Auburn is not the best team in the SEC, that they've still got some issues. They've still got some things they need to clean up. They need to prove more to him for him to go out and say, hey, this is the best team in the conference. And Auburn fans did not take kindly to it, folks. My goodness. And our good friend Jake Crain, shout out to Jake for sharing the article on his social media, because as you all know, a lot of Jake Crain's audience is Auburn fans. They are Auburn fans. So they got a hold of that article, and all hell seemingly broke loose. Again, there's irony in it, because for the Auburn folks that are pissed off at SEC Unfiltered, understand SEC Unfiltered is not a one-man show. It's not a one-man show right now. It's not going to be as we move forward. And again, I learned a lesson. So when things like power rankings come out, predictions, whoever it's from, me or someone else, we're going to make sure you know who it is, right? So that was a lesson for me. Thank you, Auburn Nation, for showing me that, okay? But as we scale, as we grow, different contributors are going to have different opinions. And while I may say this, a contributor may say that. SEC Unfiltered is not the Chris Phillips Show. I want to make that very clear. It is not a one-man show. It is going to be the furthest thing from a one-man show here very soon. As we scale, we have writers. We're going to have other shows on our network. Like the main account, the SEC Unfiltered account, it's going to more so serve as a main account versus, well, this is Chris Phillips' account, right? I am a piece, maybe a large piece, but I am just a cog in this machine that is SEC Unfiltered. So that's the irony behind things, because Auburn fans were pissed. I mean, you go look at the mentions on this article, they're still coming in. Auburn fans were pissed. I mean, really, really, really pissed. And then on the other side, they're like, wait a minute. Isn't this the same entity that put Auburn number 1 in their SEC power rankings? So I'm going to do a better job. Auburn, you got the commitment from me and everybody else. I'm going to do a better job of, hey, these aren't necessarily SEC Unfiltered's thoughts. These are Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered's thoughts. These are Briggs Paris's of SEC Unfiltered's thoughts, and all of our other contributors, right? Because we got college baseball contributors. Of course, we got football. We're all going to have differing opinions. So I'll make sure to clarify, remove some confusion. But that was the irony of it, because I had Auburn folks commenting saying, now I know this is a show not to tune into or take seriously. And I'm like, I said Auburn was number 1. Like, I mean, cut me some slack here. Cut us a little slack. So anyways, like I always say, guys, the beauty is in the banter. I just thought that was really funny. I had never had, that was probably my first real riff with an opposing SEC fan base. I've had, or just an opposing. an SEC fan base in general, right? I've had countless riffs and run-ins with South Carolina's fan base on social media. I'd prefer to have no more with them, by the way. But I've had plenty with them. This was the first time I've had a riff with a fan base, a SEC fan base that was not South Carolina. And it was the Auburn Tigers. And you know what? Shout out to Auburn fans for bringing the heat. I thought it was a lot of fun. But anyways, I'll do a better job to remove the confusion. I just thought there was a lot of irony behind that situation. And it'll be a fun story to tell, one early on in the growth and the scaling and the development of the SEC Unfiltered entity, if you will. But go check out Briggs' piece on SECUnfiltered.com. I know he stands by his work. I stand by my power rankings. And again, the beauty is in the banter. We can agree to disagree. That being said, guys, on the note of SEC basketball, let's talk about some of these games tonight. There's a good slate. We'll start Tennessee hosting the Florida Gators. Tennessee's a 9.5-point favorite in this one. That feels like a lot, honestly. I know Florida's 1-2 in conference play, but I think Florida's a pretty solid team. Tennessee, really good. Obviously, they're going to bring the physicality. Which dude steps up for the night? I would take Florida on the points. I think Tennessee wins straight up. I think that's a close game, though. Alabama takes on the Missouri Tigers. Bama's a 14.5-point favorite. No, this is not football. This is basketball. No, seriously. Mizzou has been really, really bad this year. Dennis Gates, that team, for whatever reason, underachieved. Alabama with their great offense. I think they win. I think they cover tonight. Give me Bama minus 14.5. Crimson Tide will get the W. South Carolina hosts the Georgia Bulldogs in Columbia. This game, guys, surprisingly, the spread. South Carolina minus 6.5. I think Georgia's a pretty damn good team. I know South Carolina's at home. The home team, guys, has been so good, right, this year in the SEC. The home team's been incredible. So I am going to go with South Carolina. I think they will get the dub. I think this is a big game in regards to keeping that momentum going of, hey, this could be a tournament team or this is a tournament team. I do think South Carolina will get the win. I don't know if they cover 6.5. I'd probably take Georgia on that number, but I do think South Carolina wins a close one. I think this is a really fun, close back-and-forth game. Finally, guys, Texas A&M. They are a 3.5-point favorite. They go on the road to Arkansas. Guys, until Arkansas shows something, you just have to keep picking against them. Like, it's going to be a night like tonight or another game. Like, they're going to have a game where they emerge and show up, and it's like, there they are. There's the Arkansas that we expected to see all year. But until we actually see it happen, we're believing in a fairy tale, right? So I'm going Texas A&M. I think Buzz Williams' squad, I think they'll build off of that game, that win against Kentucky. I know A&M's on the road, but what is the energy like at Bud Walton right now, guys? Like, what's the energy like at Bud Walton? Really, truly. So I'm going Texas A&M. I think they cover. I think they win. And for the Hogs, I have no faith in them. I have no reason to believe them. So again, tonight I'm going Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Texas A&M. All straight up, which means I'm picking nothing but favorites. But I do. I think the favorites win tonight. I really do think the favorites will win tonight. Maybe not all cover, but I do think the favorites will win across the board in the SEC. What should be a great night of action on the hardwood. Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break on the other side. Daily Mailbag. Our Daily Mailbag segment officially begins. We're taking your questions, your comments, your calls. I want to hear from you here on this Tuesday, guys. All that and more on the side of this break. You're tuned in to SEC Unfiltered Live.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Boy, you tripping.
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.
SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is the simplest fantasy game on the market, focused around prop total entries. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. Prize Picks has no sharks, optimizers, or mass multi-entry. It's literally just you against the projection. They also allow mixed sport entry. So, for example, you can take the over on LeBron, parlay with the under on Mahomes. They've got college sports, pro sports, literally anything and everything you can think of. They have got it over at Prize Picks. They also have a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both in the App Store and Google Play, and they're rated 4.8 stars in the App Store with rave reviews. So many fans and listeners of SEC Unfiltered have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go download the Prize Picks app or head over to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use that promo code SECU to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boosts, same-game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Every single sack, fumble, and touchdown is another chance to hit payday. To get started, go to mybookie.ag, and on your first deposit, use promo code SECU to grab a deposit match up to $1,000. Try the MyBookie money bag as well to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds, plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. You won't find odds like that anywhere else. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Finally, SEC Unfiltered Live is brought to you by our friends over at Roback. Guys, if you haven't heard of Roback before, it's time to check them out. It's safe to say I'd bet on these guys any day of the week because I absolutely love their gear. I couldn't be more pumped to work with Roback. It's simply some of the most comfortable gear that I own. From the performance polos to the hoodies and the joggers, it's some of the best fit and best feel around. Roback's performance hoodies are some of the best pieces of clothing I've ever worn. I can't emphasize how soft these things are with great stretch and breathability. They're simply some of the best hoodies out there. Odds are, guys, if you see me during football season, baseball season, basketball season, or just here on SEC Unfiltered Live, you'll more than likely see me in a Roback hoodie. Secondly, guys, Roback's performance polos, they're some of the most comfortable polos out there. They're moisture wicking with 4-way stretch, making them perfect for a game day, and they have the perfect fit. With crisp collars that don't lose their shape, I could not recommend these polos more. In all honesty, guys, Roback's been gaining traction big time. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been working with some of college football's biggest stars, such as Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe and former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. So go check them out now and use the promo code SECU on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all bottoms, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with the promo code SECU. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are back as the daily mailbag segment officially begins. Guys, taking your questions, your comments, and your voicemails. I keep saying voicemails. We're taking your calls, guys. You want to call into the show, be part of the show, you're welcome to 843-790-3377. I got to get used to that. Questions, comments, and calls at 843-790-3377. You can call in, guys. Leave us a question. Give us your thoughts, whatever it might be. Calls are back. Yes, John. This is a new development from Friday of last week. Calls are back. I realize we had a ton of new people that are tuning in, new fans. John, I will say this. I have done things to the call-in experience that are going to enhance this segment. But yes, calls are officially back. Calls are back. You want to call in 843-790-3377. You can also just text that number, comment on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll see those, and we'll get to those as well. Bruin Nation said earlier in the show, that's right, Chris, you ruffle those other teams' feathers. Indeed, my friend. I stay ruffling feathers no matter who it is. John Edwards said earlier, Robbie Ashford's welcome to South Carolina. Yeah, so Robbie Ashford, it looks like Matt Zenitz is reporting. Also had an Auburn guy reporting as well. Guys, it looks like to me the Gamecocks got their backup quarterback they were looking for, because I mean, if South Carolina's starting Robbie Ashford, my God, they're in a world of hurt. I think South Carolina got the guy they needed to get, right? When it comes to, they were looking for who is someone who is willing to buy a bag of goods that is being a backup. Like, is there a guy out there who's willing to do so? Well, Robbie Ashford enters the portal from Auburn where he was the backup, right? So it's like, is he really going to go somewhere, especially in the SEC, that he can start? If he was going to fight for a starting job, it had to be a lower level. Not everybody wants to do that. I think this is a perfect fit. I think he'll give Lenoris Sellers at least somewhat of a push, much more than he would have had otherwise. You know, Lenoris Sellers is going to be the starter in Columbia. And I think Robbie Ashford, too, can help them win. I think, Dabble Loggins, how he uses him in red zone, different packages. Maybe he takes over for that, the Carry-On Joiner type package they had in the red zone. So I think a lot of good can come from this. But all in all, you are able to get a serviceable backup. And if you're a South Carolina fan, without getting someone that you fear could take Lenoris Sellers' job. So all in all, I think a win-win for South Carolina from that standpoint. So anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Big news in college football is Talia Tagovailoa gets his eligibility declined. So he will be going, I suppose, to the NFL draft or what have you. The NCAA declining his, I believe it would have been like his 6th year or something like that. Maybe 7th. I have no idea. Anyways. He does not have his eligibility. Guys, like I mentioned, we got D1 baseball, top 25 is out. A lot of exciting stuff happening, man. A lot of exciting stuff. Really, really pumped for it. Really looking forward to opening day. Yep, and Robbie Ashford just posted his commitment video. Robbie Ashford headed to Columbia, South Carolina. I wonder what the reception is like for Robbie Ashford. You know what I mean? I wonder what it's like, because admittedly, this is how South Carolina fans are approaching it. This is how South Carolina fans are approaching Robbie Ashford. Hey, Robbie Ashford, glad to have you, but we're not pulling for you to start. We don't actually want the best for you. Just be serviceable as a backup to Lenoris Sellers. Imagine if Robbie Ashford wins the starting job. Any scenario that has Lenoris Sellers not starting is going to piss South Carolina people off. Let's see. Going back through your questions here. Cody Larmer says, would not worry about upsetting Auburn fans. They throw toilet paper after wins. They also don't know if their mascot's a tiger or an eagle. Nah, that was funny. That was funny, man. That was funny. Ethan K says, Beamer and Kingston are in similar positions, in my opinion. Both need to take a step forward in the upcoming seasons or maybe on the hot seat. Ethan, I mean, I think that, I think Mark Kingston, if they don't take a step forward, I think he could be fired. I mean, I really do. I think it's that type of year in Columbia for Mark Kingston. And I think Shane Beamer, again, unless things really fall apart, I think he's back in 2025. So similar situations, not identical, but similar situations for sure. So let's see. Ethan K says, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I'd have a lot of respect and admiration for Nick Saban, but I wouldn't like the idea of being micromanaged or having him look over my shoulder while trying to transition over. Yeah, it's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. That's going to be really, really, really tough. Billy Cotton says, I think Alabama made a bad choice. Time will tell, but just doesn't feel right. A rush in hiring. We'll see. We'll see. Ethan K says Auburn will beat Alabama next year. Coach Ford, Beamer just got the QB2 from Auburn. Yes. Robbie Ashford committing to South Carolina. Bruin Nation says if he's the better option, I'm okay with it, but they better be right. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Bruin Nation, that's what it comes down to, right? For any coaching staff is, do you win? Do you win? So. Do you win? That's the big thing. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Taking your questions, your comments, and your calls. Questions, comments, and calls. 843-790-3377. Cody Larmer says in 2021, Vol fans are pulling for Harrison Bailey, but we got Hendon Hooker. Worked out pretty well. Yeah, it does. It does. Coach Ford, QB2s from Auburn, QB3 from Oklahoma. Good times. No sarcasm at all coming from Coach Ford. No sarcasm at all from Coach Ford. None at all. None at all. None at all. So, again, guys, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon so you get notifications of when we go live, when we drop new video content as well. We're live every single day, noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time. Every single day. Again, cannot say thank you enough, guys, for the love and support early on in the history of SEC Unfiltered. Means the world, guys. I'm really excited for what we're doing on the scaling side of the business, growing the business, adding different content contributors, guys. We're going to be adding other podcasts. We're going to be adding other live shows. SEC Unfiltered, much, much, much bigger than just yours truly. Lance Player, what's up, man? What's going on? Appreciate tuning in, Lance. It's great to see a guy like Lance in the chat. Great to see Coach Ford. There's a lot of folks that used to tune in this show that no longer do. So anytime I see folks commenting that are familiar faces, familiar names, I really do genuinely appreciate it, man. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Lance. Good to have you here, man. Good to have you here. Folks like Travis Rowell. What's up, Chris? SECU crowd. Travie. Great to have Travie in here. Ethan K. Bruin Nation. There's a couple of you in here that still tune in. So I appreciate that. Appreciate that greatly, man. Again, the big news in the portal, there's been, multiple things happening. South Carolina gets Robbie Ashford. Talia Tungviola does not get more eligibility. Let's see. Des Ricks looked like was going to go to LSU. He has canceled his visit, I believe, this weekend. And then so many different Alabama guys hitting the portal. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's open season on Alabama's roster right now. Absolutely open season. So, anyways, guys. Justin Martin, what's up, man? What's going on? Slayer of Queens has joined the conversation. We do have a Discord, guys. SEC Unfiltered Discord. Click the link in our bio. In the SEC, in link in bio in social media. Anywhere on social media, at SEC Unfiltered, click that link in our bio. You'll see the Discord link. It is free to join. It is free to join, guys. Keep the conversation rolling after the show and all throughout. It's a really good time. The beauty is in the banter. Let's see. Blake Queen says if Lenora Sellers doesn't start, the fans will burn Williams-Brice down. I don't know if they'll burn down Willie B, but they'll run Shane Beamer out of town with the quickness. There's no question. So, Coach Ford, looks like Shane Beamer's putting the pieces in place for a 7+ win 2024. Maybe so, Coach Ford. Travis says Gilbert Edmond coming back. Glad to see some depth on the edge. Yeah, Travis, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Sounds like Jordan Birch might come back too. I don't know. I wouldn't take Gilbert Edmond back. I wouldn't take Jordan Birch back either. But, that's just the day and age we're in college football, where you just put all those personal feelings aside and, you just you make a move, and it is what it is, and that's what it is. So, anyways, Lance Player, pride of 843 will prevail. Indeed. What are your picks, guys, for SEC basketball tonight? Picks for SEC basketball. Somebody said they've got South Carolina over Georgia. Again, I think there's a lot of great games, man. A lot of great games. A lot of great games. Let's see. Again, man, Josh Pate just posted something. Bama's going through it right now, man. Bama's going through it right now. No question. They are absolutely going through it. So guys, let me see. Shamir says South Carolina -4. Is it down to -4? Is it down to -4? I was surprised to see South Carolina -6.5. Not because, South Carolina's not a good team this year or anything, but just like, Georgia's been pretty good themselves. So I was surprised. To see that. And if that spread tightens up, that will not surprise me at all. So, Mark Livingston, I would take Florida in the points against Tennessee. That's a large spread. I believe that South Carolina beats Georgia. Don't think they cover the 7. Yeah, I would take Florida too. That spread feels large, Mark, to your point. I would also take Florida and the points. I mean, I think Tennessee, guys, is very, very good. I think they're one of the best teams in the conference. That being said, though, that's a lot. That's really, really a lot. Okay, so the spread is still 6.5, Shamir says. Spread is still 6.5. Bruce, you surprised Gamecocks are only 25 in the D1 baseball rankings. I'm not necessarily. I mean, that does feel a little low, admittedly, Bruce. But I think when you have the question marks that South Carolina's got in the pitching staff, I think when you've got those question marks, I think that's probably the reason why they're sort of hesitant. Guys, I also think, too, here's what I'll say. Ethan Petrie's back. Cole Messina's back. Your leaders are back. I think the lineup's going to be a group of bashers, but I got to be honest with you, man. I got to be totally honest. I will not blame anyone for, I think this is the approach you take. This is probably the approach I'm going to take with South Carolina. Is South Carolina a preseason top 25 team? Yes, they are. I think no doubt. Is South Carolina a top 10 team? Even top 15? I don't know. I don't know yet, because I need to see Mark Kingston in South Carolina baseball show consistency. Like, I need to see him put it together, because it's been nothing but inconsistency from that program since he got there. I mean, guys, look at last year. South Carolina did everything they could to crumble down the stretch. Right? So, I mean, there were talks the Gamecocks might not even host last year. So, I'm not going to blame anybody for being like, you know what, this team's really good, but let's see Kingston. Let's just see, And again, issues and question marks in the pitching staff. Like, here's the thing. Will it surprise me? And do I expect South Carolina to be a team that's capable of hosting a regional again, going to a super? I do. I do expect that. If you told me right now, hey, South Carolina missed the postseason, can you believe it? I'd say yes, 100%. I'd say yes, 100%, because Mark Kingston's tenure at South Carolina has been such a mixed bag. Such a mixed bag. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's a sure thing. I don't think it's a sure thing. I'll be totally honest with you. So, pitching staff has questions, and we'll see how those are answered. We'll see how they're answered, but nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me at this point. Really, truly. Guys, 843-790-3377. You can call that number, text that number, whatever you like. Would love to hear from you. Game day in the SEC. Got some basketball games tonight. Looking forward to. I mean, guys, I'd probably say when you look at the SEC, I would probably say South Carolina, Georgia. Is that the game of the night? I mean, I think that's probably the game of the night. I think Tennessee, Florida could be interesting. That's a pretty big spread, though. Bama's going to work Mizzou, I think. Arkansas is so bad that it's like, I mean, maybe they pull the upset, but I don't think they do. I think South Carolina, Georgia, man, I think those two programs are really, really intriguing because both weren't expected to do a whole lot. Both are having good seasons. Georgia really missed an opportunity against Tennessee. And now have to go on the road, and we'll see that, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I think that's going to be a great game. James Kendall says, need to update that MyBookie ad. Yeah, I do, James. I do, because the Eagles are out of it, right? The Eagles are out of it. So we'll get a new ad copy. I appreciate you looking out for me, James. I'll update it, James, if you go use MyBookie. How about that? Justin Martin, Chris, will Bama fans run Coach DeBoer out of town if Bama doesn't win an SEC title and national title in the next 4 years? Justin, that's a great question. Like, what is the timetable? Like, what are the expectations? Kalen DeBoer and Alabama must win a national championship by blank. Is it that clear, cut, and dry? I don't know that it is, Justin. With increased parity now in college football, I mean, if the guy's going 11-1, heck, he's going undefeated, and then he's getting to a college football playoff, but he's not winning it. How many years must go by? How many playoff appearances without a title before Alabama fans would say, okay, he's not the guy, he can't win the big one, fire him? Does that window, does it exist? It's crazy to think about that, but at a place like Alabama, where you're expected to win titles, that'll be the conversation. That'll probably be the conversation. You get 4 or 5 years down the road, there are no national championships, which is crazy to think about, but that's life as the Alabama head coach. It just is. That's life as the Bama head coach. So, we'll see. We will we'll see how long they give him, how long the leash is, if you will. But I don't know. I mean, here's the crazy part. It's going to be easier to win the national title than it is to win the SEC. I mean, with as competitive and deep as the SEC is, so Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, be sure to check out our SEC Unfiltered Discord. Link in bio at SEC Unfiltered. You can check that out, guys. A lot of fun. We talk SEC ball. Would love to have you guys in there. We need more SEC flavor, man. There's a lot of Gamecock fans in there, and I love you and I appreciate you guys, but would like to see some other SEC fans in there. So. Serviceable is a great way to call Robbie Ashford. Yes, serviceable. Cody Larmer Discord is the Wild Wild West. Cody, it's it can be a lot crazier, man. Truly, I want it to be crazier. I want that to be the premier place that SEC fans go to interact, talk shit, talk shop. Also help me keep up with everything happening in the SEC. That would be nice as well. So let's see. Yep. Cool. Let's see, guys. We'll be talking basketball tonight. We'll be covering those games tomorrow night as well. How about Erica Nardini, I believe is her last name. No longer the CEO at Barstool. Barstool is getting a new CEO. So I thought it was interesting. I watched her video this morning. She said they increased revenue by 5,000% over her tenure. Again, guys, you're on YouTube. Be sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you get notifications of when we go live, when we drop new video content, guys. We have daily video content on YouTube. Also, guys, of course, the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Rate and subscribe. Leave us 5 stars, guys. It helps boost the show. If you have not done so, please do me a favor. Leave us 5 stars on those platforms I mentioned. And, of course, guys, follow us across social media, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Be sure you check us out there. Really good stuff, guys. Content continues to bleed out of the eyeballs on social media. We are everywhere, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, and we're there. Really good stuff, guys. Again, I cannot say thank you enough, truly, guys. These are the first days of SEC Unfiltered. We're only 3 weeks into this thing, 2.5 weeks, something like that. We've already seen great successes. We've already seen great growth across the board, from social media to YouTube content to even live show content. We had a record-setting day on Friday when the Alabama stuff was happening, 2,000 or so live viewers, something like that. So for a live show, a noon to 2 live show, that was a record for us. Really appreciate you guys. We hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, something we obviously had not done before. So thank you again for that. We're up on podcast downloads this month. Great successes taking place. We're also scaling. We're growing. We're adding contributors. We got a team right now of about 11 people. I want to add about 10 more. Also want to add 4 to 5 shows to the network, live shows to the network, podcasts to the network, what have you. So great growth, great successes early. And again, we're only going up from here. We're only growing from here. Truly cannot say thank you enough, guys. I'm really happy that we're laying the groundwork right now, because by the time we get to SEC Media Days, by the time we get to kickoff, we're going to be absolutely rolling. These are the days we're laying the foundation, man. And I cannot say thank you all enough for supporting us in this time as we get it all rolling. Guys, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. Y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.